You've just landed on the Coolest People in the World podcast, a show that features stories of cool people doing really cool things. From business, art, and travel to lifestyle, mental health and family, and everything in between. Join host Crystal J. Bailey as she introduces you to some of the coolest people in the world. Here's Crystal.
Welcome back to the Coolest People in the World podcast. I'm your host, Crystal J. Bailey, and I am so excited, as usual, to be here with another guest and another friend, Miss Billie Jo Mickle. Welcome to the show, Billie.
I'm excited to be here.
Billie is an artist and a mother, or a mother first and an artist. She is somebody super special to me, and so are her kids. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm Billie Jo. I'm a mother and an artist. South Jersey, born and raised. I went to Temple University for psychology, not for art. Was a bartender for 15 years, and I found myself back in my hometown selling my art and being a mother.
Here you are, and that's where we met. It's no mistake that Tallulah was the star of the show today, her youngest, because when we met, even though she was busy with a beautiful art installation, an event in Atlantic City, it was her oldest daughter who caught my attention. It was her oldest daughter who came up to me and told me that I felt familiar, and she was about 8 or 9 at the time, and my response was, "Where's your mother?" Because what kind of child comes up and not says you look familiar, not says I think I've seen you before, nothing. No, you feel familiar. And I thought, what kind of intuition does this little girl have?
She knew a good person. She felt a good soul.
She must have, and I felt her. And now they're busy babysitting the baby while we record this podcast. So how full circle is life. The part of the story that I always tell was that she shared with me at that young age that she was reading a Nelson Mandela book. And I was like, I want to be friends with whoever raised you.
That's my Ava. She's such an emotional and intuitive, a well-read. She's got a good head and a good heart. She reminds me a lot of Ileana.
Yeah, she's a special kid. All your kids are super special, and they've all become my nieces and nephew. I just told them that when I bribed them to watch the baby. They're my babies, but we've become family. And
we spent birthdays together. So many on the beach. We've really done a lot of beach birthdays.
We really have, because we have summer babies, and that's the easy party answer. Although this year, now we're pushing 14, and the party plans are involving things she sees on TikTok. Beach picnics with the right pillows and the right decor.
Oh, I'm excited to come this year.
Listen, I'm like, don't put the pressure on or anything.
Well, wait, and soon she'll be chefing them up, too.
Yeah, no, she's going to school for cooking, which I'm super excited about. Anyway, so when Billie and I met, I said, I told Ava, I want to meet the person who raised you. But I didn't know that I already had met you because I already came through your art installation.
Okay.
So we were at the Showboat in Atlantic City, and I've done a lot of work with the Atlantic City Arts Foundation. And so this was one of their pop-up art events, the Arteriers at Showboat. And so Billie had an installation there, which we're going to talk about. And when I met Ava and Billie said, well, all right, fine, I'll give you my number, but I'm not saving it until we actually hang out, because then I'll know that you're for real, that you really want to be friends.
Yeah. I have too many numbers in my phone without names saved.
I'm the same way. Even after I hang out, though, I'm really awful at saving them. But anyway, here we are several years later, and Billie's journey as an artist and a mother has evolved since we've met. So they've been stuck with me since, or I've been stuck with them. We've been stuck with each other.
Together.
But beyond a mother, you are a phenomenal artist. And your art carries so much meaning and thought to it. It's significant work. And so I want to start to dive into that a little bit and talk about your journey. Let's talk about where your artist journey started. And before we go anywhere, I want you to know this woman has worked with the Obama Foundation, with celebrities like Keke Palmer, been part of the Meek Mill documentary, and other celebrities and athletes. She's done incredible things. But I want to talk about where it all began.
I'll say it all began like when I got pregnant with my Ava. I've always been a very creative. I got most artistic for senior year for the superlatives.
Oh, you were voted most creative.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, voted most artistic. And I've always done things like embroidery, little painting here, just anything creative. And when I got pregnant with Ava, I couldn't party so much. So I started painting a lot more, and I started post stuff on Facebook, just like, oh, here's my day. I did this. That was when Facebook was just starting. I didn't even think of it to be like, I'm going to be an artist and make money off of this. I was just sharing what I made that day. And then people would be like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. Oh, could you make me one? And slowly it evolved into me becoming an artist that lives off of her artwork.
Right.
There are many artists, but
right.
I actually live off of my artwork. I would say in the beginning, what kind of maybe drew people to me, or maybe had people feeling related to my artwork, was I would paint a lot of things that I felt like I would paint about what I was going through, or I would paint about what I was seeing in the news or what's going on in the world around me. And it was kind of like reactionary art or social art, or I don't know what to actually classify it as. But that was what I think started to get people to follow my journey and include me, give me opportunities.
Can you give an example of what you mean by that? Like an example of your work that you did that was maybe reactionary or to something going on in the world?
Okay, you brought up Meek Mill. So Meek Mill, Philadelphia rapper, very famous. He dealt with a lot of getting arrested for things that he really shouldn't have been in jail for, or there was this one judge that he dealt with, if you watch the documentary, who really was just doing unfair things to him and locking him up for reasons like that he didn't deserve. Fast forward, he's a famous rapper. Now he's on probation in 2017. He was doing a wheelie. He was riding a motorcycle and he was doing a wheelie. He got arrested for doing a wheelie.
Because he had the prior record.
Because he had the prior record.
Right.
He got arrested the day after because it was off of a video that he posted. But anyway, he was getting sent to jail for 2 to 4 years for this popping a wheelie. I couldn't believe it. Like, I think about this guy who has come from nothing to something, and he's advocating for reform and better laws, and he's providing a way for his family. There's so many people that make a living off of him through his career and all that. And they lock him up for 2 to 4 years for popping a wheelie.
Right, because he's stuck in the system.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And it's like a story that gets told over and over and over. You know, this is at a time when in the news we're seeing so many killings. We're seeing so many people be treated so unfairly by the justice system, Black and brown people specifically. And this is a young man who is doing nothing at this point in his life but rapping. I don't know what he was really doing in his own time, but he looks like he's being a great member of society now.
Yeah.
That's cool. I started crying when I saw that he was getting locked up for 2 years. It was just in the news, and I just had this emotion come over me, like, this is not fair. They're playing with his life. And I got this vision of him being like a jack-in-the-box. Like, put it back in the box, like in its cage, and like you play with it and play with it. Oh, let it out. Now put it back in its cage. And this rhyme came in my head. I don't even know why, but it's like, he's black in the box, put him back in the box. Play with him like a jack in the box. It literally was within like a few hours from after I saw him getting arrested that all this is going on in my mind. I make a painting of him actually looking like a jack in the box, abstract painting. And I'm like 80% done of it. The next day, I see Milano, his girlfriend at the time. Well, I don't know if it was known that was going, but she posted that there's going to be a rally outside City Hall for Meek Mill in Philadelphia. And I'm in South Jersey, so I don't know why, but I just got this feeling. I need to be there. I want people to see this. They're toying with him. He's not a toy.
Right.
They shouldn't play with this man's life. So I hopped on the train. And the funny thing is, like, I wasn't completely done the painting until I heard about that. And I was like, oh my God, I have to get there. And I was actually finishing the painting on the train.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, had my paints with me. I was like, I need to be there. It was like a calling. And I get there and I'm in the crowd, just holding it up. I'm saying my chant. Got on the news. It went viral. I think a lot of people understood and felt it. And that was actually like a big moment in my artistic career. It helped people really relate to my art and feel it. And
understand you have something to say.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of opportunities that actually, because of that small viral moment, I got invited on a few podcasts.
Okay.
And then I got to speak more about my art, because that wasn't the first painting that I made. Like, I made a lot of paintings about things going on in the world.
So I want to get into some of your different works and some of the most meaningful works, but you brought up the train, and we talked about that on one of our takes, and I wanted to make sure it gets to the show. You know, her kids inspire me. They just walked in the door and they were like, they've become just loves of my life. And watching your journey over the last couple years as a single mom for a long time, making it work as an artist, someone figuring out her voice as an artist, you've inspired me. And Billie is someone who has grit like I've never seen. I don't know why I didn't cry the first time and I'm getting emotional this time. She would get on that same train with her kids and take them here and there because there was nobody else to take care of them, and she wanted to showcase her art, and she knew she wanted to do something important in this world. And so it's always inspired me, because nobody mothers like you mother.
Thank you. Oh,
all right, we're going to wipe our tears. Go ahead.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
How do they feel about your artwork now?
Honestly, it's crazy. I think they're very proud of that aspect of my life. It's hard to be the cool parent. I'm at home. I look homeless when I'm home. I'm not like, I don't have the coolest car, you know, I don't have the coolest anything. But they tell me, oh, I looked you up today with my friends. I showed my friends this because they Google and stuff like that. So I do think they're proud of that. I think they're really like, oh, my mom's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
you know? And maybe to them, they're like, maybe it might be weird sometimes. Like, oh, who's that cool lady? Because she's at home yelling at me, clean my room.
No, they get it. They look real. They're real. Like, you're real, and they recognize authenticity and hard work and grit. And they're becoming, your two oldest are becoming young women, and
it's crazy.
They're understanding. And, you know, I have a teenager as well, and she's beginning to understand what it means to be a young woman. And we were young mothers and career women, and so they're understanding slowly but surely. They're piecing it together. What initially inspired you to start creating?
Well, like I said, it was more just out of like a hobby. It gave me peace. And then, you know, as the years go by, obviously, once I started making money, that becomes a little thought in the back of your head that, I could pay my bills with this. And so aside from like the social, like, I guess, advocacy, you know, people would say I was a big advocator for prison reform, just treating people kind, gender equality, you know, just the things that people deal with every day.
Yeah.
Aside from those social parts of my art, I've also been doing some big murals, and like right now I'm working on a food truck. I'm excited to be working with Atlantic City Youth Services. I've worked with them for almost 2 years now, or like a year and a half.
Talk to us about that program. I want to go backwards still, but let's talk about the now for a little bit.
Well, I'm excited to be working with them. We're about to start up a third rendition of the program. It's called Young Basquiat's Art Program with Atlantic City Youth Services, where I teach a group of kids about art, about having art shows, and we create multiple paintings, typically 3 to 4 over an 8-week period. In the final week, we have an art show, and so far we've done this twice, and now we're about to start our third one. But for the past 2, each time we did the art show, all the kids sold at least one painting. Most of them sold all their artwork, and they got to feel so proud to stand. They stand on stage and they talk about their art and what it means. And then, it's a really cool thing that they get to learn about entrepreneurship. They get to learn about painting and expressing. It's so many things I think they get to learn about through just a quick little 8-week program.
And are the kids in Atlantic City, or where are they?
Yes, they're Atlantic City based.
That's really neat. What are the age ranges?
So I've worked with 3rd to 5th grade, and I also worked with, I believe, 6th through 8th. So
what is that like? So discovering your art, because you discovered that you could be an artist kind of later in life.
Yeah.
Once you were a mother. So what is that like to be able to give kids at a younger age and show them that your art is worth something?
It's cool. It feels great. But it also, it's not something to take for granted. Back in the day, when somebody tells you, I'm going to be an artist, it felt like made up. Funky, or like you're imagining
pipe
things.
dreams.
Yeah. But now when I tell them and I go through this experience with them, and they see how happy they are that they can make money off of something that they created from their mind. And the way the world is, I feel like there's so many more entrepreneurs now, like with internet-based, people sell things. There are a lot more, especially even going through COVID, after all the businesses shut down, people have realized, like, I can actually make things myself. I can start my own business. I can do that. So I think it's really cool to see them get so excited. And it's, the coolest thing is, like, in the beginning, some of them are really excited about painting. Some of them, you can tell their parents made them do this because they need another activity. But by the end, when they get to that show and they see their paintings hung up nice, and they see people coming and looking at them and being excited to talk to them about it, and then actually getting money, like seeing that sparkle or that like spark or like that change, like for the kids who didn't take it as serious up until that point, then they're like, can we do it again?
Yeah.
When's our next art show? Like, it's really a special feeling.
That's really neat. Do you remember the first time you got paid for your art?
I do. One of my best friends, Ashley Buttercup Butler, she's a New York-based artist. I met her in college when we went to Temple. I'm so proud of her. Can I just say something about her real quick?
Absolutely, please do.
She just had her artwork on the Macy's windows in New York City.
Wow.
Manhattan, the right place to be, for Black History Month, because she paints art highlighting Black people, but she makes art to teach us about our past.
Okay.
Yeah. So every time she paints somebody, and it's like a history lesson, but she calls it wearable art because she puts it on T-shirts.
I like it.
Yeah. So it got featured in the window at
On a
Macy's.
mannequin?
No, like it was like her actual big paintings.
Oh, okay.
But
cool.
she made them this big. They made them, printed them out, reprinted them super big in the windows. A big picture of her
Oh, dope.
for the whole month of Black History. So I just wanted to shout her out because
That's
she's
awesome.
an amazing artist. She's 100% always been a supporter of my career. We've put art shows on together. We're planning a new art show again. We want to have one this year in Philly. Her dad bought my first painting.
Aww.
All that long story.
Oh, no, I love that you circled back.
To say her dad was my first. It was a painting of this bright orange cartoony girl with purple hair, and he's a big Beats by Dre.
I love it. So
Yeah.
that's a perfect segue. Talk about the style of your art, because it is a unique style.
So my art is very colorful. Sometimes it's cartoony, but it's kind of, I like to say it's like a whimsical play on reality. I do paint on all different kinds of facets. I make 3D art where I cut wood and stack it so it looks like things are coming out of the painting.
But like the bodies of a lot of the women that you paint are usually like stretched in some capacity.
That's because what are we in real life?
Stretched
to
in-
every capacity.
That is a fair answer to the question I didn't even finish. So. In addition to the Meek Mill documentary, you also did work with the Obama Foundation. Can we talk a little bit about that?
With them, because of the Meek Mill situation, I got invited to a podcast. They heard my interview on a podcast, never seeing me, but they were interested in my art after hearing about it, saw my art, and invited me to the 2019 My Brother's Keeper National Convention, the very first one. For a week, they flew me to Oakland. I got to meet all other kinds of advocates from the whole country, people who are passionate about prison reform, specifically young men, for their case, because it's My Brother's Keeper Foundation, helping them get better opportunities and such. But it was really just an invitation for a week to be with them, to expand my network. Then it actually led me to working with the Biden campaign.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 2020.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It's so hard to remember the things that I've done.
I've known you a long time.
Yeah, it's like, so then they hired me through that, and I got to work on the end of that campaign for like the last 4 months. So it kind of wasn't all art.
Okay.
It was also a lot more networking and building relationships. I did some of those people that I met bought art, but it was really an honor to be recognized as an advocate for change. One thing I did get to do out there was I helped children paint a mural.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, on a school in Oakland. It was like all the subjects. It was like a big beaker and it said science.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I got help. I was picked to help paint it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to design it.
Okay.
That's always the fun part. You know, that's the thing about art. And I imagine with any business, you know, you get to do some things and some things you get free reign and it feels really cool because it's like, oh, I created this whole thing. And some things you get to be part of a team, which is really cool because then you get to think, oh, I helped bring this to life. So with them, I didn't get to do an original painting, but I did get to help paint a mural on a school in Oakland. So
I love that.
hopefully it's still there.
I know, right? Because you never know with art, which...
I know.
All right, well, we won't get too far into it, but we will talk briefly. Something happened to your art before.
Oh, you're talking about on Tony's. Yeah. So, yes. I did a mural when...
It wasn't liked too much.
when coronavirus was in the air and Donald Trump was the president. And I made a political painting on the side of a pizza shop. And that was through the Atlantic City Arts Foundation. I played on the word coronavirus and I called it persona virus. And I painted a picture of Donald Trump as a big virus spore.
It was a time, all right? It was a time. We were all there.
Yeah.
It was a time.
It hit so much show that within 2 days, somebody spray painted over it because they were so offended.
So what does that feel like? So, like, because I've interviewed quite a few artists, graffiti artists, muralists. Like, what does that feel like to have your art defaced like that?
Well, that was a first. I will say, at first I was sad. Like, my first thing was like, oh, I wanted more people to see that. It was only up for 2 days.
You worked so hard.
I know. But then I felt like, wow, I really triggered somebody. So,
Right.
like, something I made, something I said must have hit a nerve. you know?
Yeah.
For you to feel so touched that you had to get rid of it or paint over or deface it. So I kind of felt powerful a
Made it
little
to a
bit.
new level.
Yeah, I felt like I have something to say, and it's okay if people don't like it, because a reaction means that they felt a way, you triggered them. I want to create art that makes people feel, and I don't have to agree with me, but if it's creating a conversation, if it's creating a commotion, if it's creating something,
then you're doing it
yeah.
right.
Now I needed to create more dollars.
Yeah, right. It is. It's coming. It's all here.
I'm working on the really big project.
Yes, let's wait for that one. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So what has been one of the most meaningful moments or pieces or experiences that you've had in your art career?
I used to have so many art shows. And not so many. It wasn't like one every weekend. But I had like an art show or two per year. And I've even shown in Art Basel. But I would invite other artists to show with me. And sometimes I would create like a wall for people who never showed before to give them the opportunity. Sometimes it's scary for people to put themselves out there. It's hard. They don't know where to step. You're like, I have all this great. There's some of the best artists never show their work. I've taught art in the prison. It was the Chester State Correctional Institution, actually where Meek Mill got. I was incarcerated.
Full circle?
Full circle. I got hired to teach there. And these men, some of them are so talented. I felt intimidated by some of their artwork. Like, you should be teaching this art class. But they felt inspired by me. And to hear them express by the end of the program that they felt like better artists. They felt more proud. They felt more ready to put their things out there. They didn't feel so silly. And just to know, like, they're just people too. People make mistakes and they're talented as hell. Teaching in the prison and having art shows, it was really meaningful to me, is having my art shows and giving a space to other artists who might not know how to put themselves out there.
When you were teaching in the prison, was there any one moment that was like, wow, I'm really where I need to be and this is what I need to be doing at this time? I remember you posting like these meaningful moments that were happening in the prison.
There were some really special moments. Aside from the art class, I got hired to do other things inside the prison too. And one of them was like a family day. And, the inmates, they would have like their partner come in or their family member. And I got to draw characters of them while they were there, and they got to keep them. And that moment was so special because, I'm creating this artwork for them to hang in their cell or wherever they're going to keep it. It made them feel normal. It's a happy moment. It was a privilege to be able to witness their love and like hear their laughs, their excitement. It's a special thing to see people be together. Yeah. Especially when they don't get to.
Right.
That was a privilege for them. So to see them truly appreciate each other's presence and to be able to capture it and I felt they're gonna get to look at this and feel good, for the rest of their stay or however long. Right. And even little things like that, I feel like it feels good to make a difference. It's so crazy. It's just drawing something, a little color, a little paint, a little. You look at little kids, you think little kid job, Right. They can color and they can do all this, but it can make an impact on somebody's life. Like, I would like to think they see that picture and it brings a smile to them in a place where they don't get smiles that easy, maybe.
And like you said, they're human. They deserve
yes,
a smile.
Yes, yeah. And they deserve love.
Absolutely.
It felt good to.
Good. Well, I'm glad you had all these beautiful moments in your career. I want to talk a little bit about the future of what's happening. We're sitting out front of a really big food truck that you're working on. Talk to us about that.
I was actually recently hired to paint this. It should be done in the next 2 weeks, weather permitting. It's been raining like every day.
That's the nature of. Learned that so many times working with artists and muralists. Like, oh, no, you can catch me when the sun's out.
A wonderful man named Ricky from Egg Harbor City asked me if I could paint this really bright and tropical because he's going to be cooking Puerto Rican food and hitting the streets.
Okay, so you're working on that, and we were waiting for some of the bigger news. So the Atlantic City Aquarium has been closed for some time now. Was that since COVID?
Yes. They're supposed to be reopening on July 1st, and through the Atlantic City Youth Foundation, they asked me to work with them to paint some murals in the Atlantic City Aquarium.
Nice.
So I'm really excited for that.
What else do you have coming up, or what are you working on or hoping to work on?
My friend Ashley, the wonderful artist from New York, we're in talks putting on another art show. We're looking in the Philadelphia area, hopefully when the weather breaks. So look forward to that. Follow my Instagram or hers. That's the one thing that is cool but scary,
Right.
My whole career has been through Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
God, sometimes these things go out and I'm always like, oh my goodness.
I know. I think about that too.
But sometimes I have hope because, the seeds that I've planted and the groundwork that I've done, like even in speaking, that I forget that I've done.
Yeah.
COVID slowed me down in the last couple years. I've been a lot less vocal on posting. I haven't made as much art. I haven't had many
You did
shows.
have a baby.
I did have a baby. I've gone through moving, lots of different things. It's just scary with all that to think like, oh, if Instagram got deleted or Facebook got deleted, everything is gone.
But you have the relationships you keep.
I do.
And you've made an impact in a lot of people's lives.
I hope I have. I do feel confident in knowing that without posting so much in these last few years or doing so much or being so vocal or out there, I still have remained busy.
Yeah.
Busy enough to, like I said, I pay my bills and I feed my kids.
That's
and
right.
We're good. Quit bartending 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this with my art.
Absolutely.
And I'm thankful for people like you who continue to shine light on me. You've written about me and I'm thankful you're speaking about me. I feel honored to be honored by you.
Absolutely.
Like, it's special. This is something, it's synergy. This is something that helps.
And one of the cool things for me about the arts community is that I never considered myself a writer, or that writing could be an art, that I could also be a quote unquote artist. I like what you said, but like, I make money from my writing, so I guess that makes me a writer.
Yeah, it took me so long to be confident enough to even call myself an artist. Like, I sold my art for so long. People are calling me an artist, and I would be like, I paint.
Right.
Yeah, I can paint things. But no, I'm an artist. Even earlier when I told you, like, I got hired to do paintings at the Atlantic City Aquarium, I guess that makes me a real artist.
Yeah.
So that even shows some glimmers of that.
That thought process. Yeah.
Still,
what
it's
makes
like,
someone a real artist?
People. And again, to bring it back to the men in prison and the people who don't get to show their work, but they're amazingly talented, or they're 100 more times talented than the people who are in the spotlight. It's sad that it takes like the notoriety or like that kind of things to feel like a real artist, because we all really are artists.
Absolutely.
We don't need the prestige. We don't need the glimmer. We don't need people talking about us to be a real artist.
Okay, so you work with children, you've worked with prisoners, and you've worked with yourself. You've worked through these thoughts in many ways to consider yourself an artist. What would you tell someone who is either they know they're super talented but they don't want to show it, or they're like, I would never call myself an artist? Like, what advice would you give?
Don't put so much weight on what a real is, because a lot of the artists that you actually see in the spotlight, you're probably more talented than they might have been in a different situation, or maybe they've had a little more confidence or some more legs up. I would just say the shine and the light doesn't make you real. What you make makes you real.
What you make makes you real. I like that. So on that note, I got to ask you the important question. When do you feel like the coolest person in the world?
I feel like the coolest person in the world when my kids tell me that they were telling their friends about how cool I am.
Yeah.
That honestly feels cool, because, they complain a lot, but no matter who the audience is, there's nobody like your children to really put you back in your place.
Right.
Like, they keep it real. They see you all the time. They're going to be your hardest critics, like, at least for me.
Right.
It's hard to impress children.
Oh, especially teenagers.
Especially ones that you punish, that you make the rules for, that you don't let have cell phones, that you are going against the grain in a lot of things.
And you've always been one of those people, like, they don't have cell phones still?
No.
Yeah,
No.
she's always been one to be like, no, I'm not breaking my rules.
I did tell Ava I'll get her a cell phone for in high school. So we'll be
You've got
crossing
that
that
far,
bridge
though.
soon.
These kids are getting them in 4th grade sometimes, like.
Younger than that. I feel like I've seen them like so much younger.
So shout out to you for that. That's why your daughter was reading Nelson Mandela books over that. Because.
But they still see everything now because their friends have it.
Yeah.
When they're home, it gives them more downtime so they can learn how to entertain themselves when they're bored.
Yeah, my kids have
Nobody
idea.
knows how to be bored. What's so bad about being bored? I wish I was bored.
I know.
I want to be bored.
wish
I don't
had the
want
time
nothing to do. I just want to say, really, that I'm thankful for the people who support me. Support people who support you.
Yeah.
A lot of my biggest supporters have been people who I don't even know. Like, the people who have been in my corner have been people I've never met, and on my lowest days, they don't even realize it, but through comments, likes, sharing, reaching out to me about projects, or just telling me, oh, this reminded me of you. Like, it's like, oh, I am making an impact. I'm making a difference. And I'm thankful. I'm just so thankful for the people who do that.
Absolutely.
So in all this, I'm thankful for the people who support my art and artists like me, people who shine light so other people can know to come get my art.
So where can people come find you?
90% of my business off Instagram and Facebook. My name is Billy Joe Mickle.
Check the show description. But yeah, definitely look for Billy on social media and check out her art. If you get a chance, is everything still up, right? I didn't look at your account. Like, you haven't deleted anything.
No.
If you do get a chance, definitely check out Billy on social media. And don't just look at her art, but look at her captions, because there's a lot of thought and backstory to the things that she creates. And like I said in the beginning, it's all meaningful. I've always found your art very moving and very impactful. And even if it was something that I didn't necessarily understand or have context for, it still would move me. It still would make me curious, and it would make me, like you said, start the conversation. Like, what is she talking about now? Because, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, girl, go get it. And I'll be like, hold on, let me get a backstory before. But it's always been meaningful work, and I think that's super important. And yeah, to this platform and to the point of what I was saying about becoming a writer and telling the stories, like, I've been privileged to hear so many stories like this, different than yours, but like yours, from artists of all different walks of life and backgrounds. And so many have said similar things or had similar thought processes. And it's been such an inspiration for me as a writer, as a storyteller, to have an upfront seat of your work and your journey and your evolution. And so I'm excited for you and whatever's to come next.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a guest.
Play date at the Atlantic City Aquarium.
Yes.
July 1st.
July 1st. Come check it out. Go check out what Billy's creating. Follow her on social media. Be sure to look for The Coolest People Podcast wherever you stream. TheCoolestPeoplePodcast.com. Show some love. Like, share, comment. You know how it all works. Every little bit of love helps, and it's all appreciated. Talk to you next week on The Coolest People in the World.
You've been listening to the Coolest People in the World podcast with Crystal J. Bailey on the new Pod City Podcast Network. Visit us online today at thecoolestpeoplepodcast.com.